Bienvenidos a Disrupt Everything, podcast series by Isra García. Reinvéntate a ti mismo y cambia lo que más te importa.
How do people like Elon Musk do what they do? He is undoubtedly a holistic high performer, although more focused on the intellectual dimension. It's just like Seth Godin, who has also a strong focus on the emotional and spiritual dimensions. Others like Maria Sharapova, Rhonda Patrick, Sheryl Sandberg, Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, Gary Vaynerchuk, or Richard Branson are fundamentally balanced because they work the four dimensions more assiduously and almost daily. I know this because I have been researching, following, analyzing around between 40 and 52 profiles for nearly 4 years, some even more. One day I realized how this worked, leading by example, experimenting and trying to learn and improve in everything I could find ahead of me, obtaining a specialty and then opening myself to expansive knowledge, being obsessive and leaving the balance for later. I have been working, shaping and testing the methodology, and I have designed for holistic high performance for around 4 years. One way to get anyone to reach their peak performance and get into the most optimal state. I have not only tried this with myself, but with more than 1,300 people only in the first program that I've been running, which is a stand-up program. Today we're burned by productivity, achieving our professional goals, having a tremendous economic return, and winning the battle at the same time. So much that we are ending up living a life that is not ours. So much that we end up crushed, depressed, and setting aside so much that the damage takes years to repair, and sometimes it's even irreversible. That's why the need to integrate the holistic high performance method in our lives is critical. We can continue thinking about being great professionals with great businesses and great jobs if first we are not great and optimized people, self-conscious people, and hard-working people, but more smart working people, whole people with a clear and healthy philosophy and a winning lifestyle. Thank you for jumping into the holistic high performance world we're building. Thank you for disrupting yourself, and welcome to a new episode with a new special guest. It's the first time we have a person who has been in the podcast before. Undoubtedly, he deserves it. Today, we have Edward Zyadelman on journaling, holistic high performance, new and sustainable ways of lifestyle, and productivity, and super personal development.
Thank you, Isra. It's a pleasure to be on here again. And it's nice because while the time passed, I think there's been a lot of evolution in my life, in your life, in the world. So it's really beautiful to chat about the relevant subjects again.
So let's jump in and welcome to your disruption.
Disrupt everything. Elígete a ti mismo y sé tu propio turbo.
Who is Edward Zyadelman? I'm going to say a few words about his background. First, we interviewed Edward Zyadelman, Ed. We interviewed him in 2018, if I recall properly. It was about how to live better and you can check the podcast in the show notes. Today, as Edward pointed, our life has evolved. It's been 3 years since the podcast. We lived so many things together, so many things we're gonna share with you, including a last experience, a holistic high performance program together. This is why I wanted to start with what is holistic high performance and what we needed. Who is Edward Zyadelman? Ed has been promoting events and retreats for the last 18 years. Having grown in New York City, he was organizing everything from 7,000 persons gatherings to boutique events for celebrities at top venues. But after all these years in this fast-paced event industry, he realized that a shift was needed and turned to more conscious gatherings. He started going on retreats, masterminds, joining communities, and then finally he went to Burning Man. So inspired by this next level of experiences, he worked there for a year, learning everything he could from the founders. Also spent the next years visiting the top retreat centers around the world and meeting top teachers, healers, and practitioners of various wellness modalities. While their wisdom has such a profound impact on his life, he wanted nothing more than to share their knowledge and wisdom, as they were the catalyst behind so much of the growth and transformation he saw. That's when Vida, his retreat center, was born, and he chose Costa Rica to paint his canvas. With Vida, he wanted to create a space conducive to the level of transformation he saw possible. Out of a deep desire of prototype better, more abundant ways of live and feeling better, with a focus on true wellness and longevity and quality of life. Vida has hosted some of the most incredible teachers and retreat leaders, and thousands of transformed lives after all. Passing through their doors, they would be incredible people that I had the opportunity to see in an event I was participating in 2014. Over the years, Edward has consulted international hotel brands, developing his own retreat center in Costa Rica, producing unique events around the globe, and working with top thought leaders in the personal growth and wellness space. This has left it invigorated and also has helped him to impact people's lives in a positive way through experiential education and hospitality as a true passion. Most recently, Edward, through Live the Possibility, started building the bridge for people to live their dream life, offering tiny homes and regenerative real estate opportunities in areas that are both abundant and thriving. Edward is an expert on journaling for high performance, also in productivity, and also he has gathered the knowledge and he has gathered the experience from 100, and I even could say 1,000 of high performers, top performers, healers, practitioners, wise people that he's been meeting, learning from all around the globe. And this is why I wanted to have him here by second time in the podcast, to share this knowledge he has gathered from so many people, and he's already applying into his consultant work, into his businesses, his teachings, his workshops, his journals, and his work over these last 10 years. So, Edward, with such an eclectic life and work projects. It's like life is a project, right? With such an eclectic projects and life, what has changed, and what have you lived, and what are the highlights of this since 2018 from here?
Yeah, thank you, Isra. And I think one of the teachers and healers and practitioners that I had a great honor to study was you. So I'm very grateful for that. You also gave me a nice shortcut because you went like that movie Memento where they post all the things on the wall, all the notes. I remember you telling me you had notes on your wall from all the top teachers, speakers in the world. So I think over the years, the one thing that's changed is in the past, I just tried to gather a lot of information. I read every book from Chopra to Tony Robbins. My dad gave me at 15 years old like a second education, a stack of books, and he said, go read. And I was blown away. I couldn't soak up more personal growth. And I started journaling about it, mostly just to track my growth and not have to go to a coach every day or a person. I have my coach. It's in my book. And I love coaches. I use them too. But I meant, this was a way for auto-reflection and for very rapid integration of that knowledge. The only thing that changed is I realized I was kind of full of shit, if that's okay to say But what I mean by that was I had all this knowledge and I wasn't really practicing it. Working with you specifically in the Holistic High Performance Program was amazing because I learned how to put action to a lot of the things that I want to implement. So I had a list of like 50 things I wanted to do in terms of my personal development and my schedule and my habits and my agendas, and I really wasn't executing a lot of them. So the one thing that's changed is actually taking a leap into action from just writing and contemplating, because journaling can turn into a mess of ideas on paper, or it can be a really productive tool to get what you need done. And in a funny way, I guess I was doing a lot, like a lot of busy work. Everything was doing. And when COVID happened and when the world took its pause, I also took a pause and started to see how I could act more from being than doing. And also not have to need the validation to do so much. Stopped caring being somebody so much and more into just allowing myself to be myself and that to be enough, and to be around people as myself and that to be enough. And also in the quality of my life, not to have to produce for the sake of producing, but really make quality, make art out of everything you do. I guess the biggest shift is this slowdown to focus and really act with a lot of the ideas and intentions I've had over the years.
Which ideas would you highlight from all the ideas you have gathered in your experience with traveling so much, like working all over the world, learning from these practitioners, healers, masters? What are the big ideas you've most serve you?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, hands down, is I'll call it "You Are Your Own Healer." But I really believe that everyone is their own guru, their own healer, their own practitioner. There was a time where every problem I had, every issue I had somebody to call for it. I had a healer, I had a teacher. They could tell me where it was, where in my childhood it came from, what moment I was frozen when I was 5 years old. And I realized the biggest lesson is to take responsibility that you are your own teacher. And do what you do, which is experiment with all this stuff. Even if some teacher was completely right 100 years ago sitting under a tree, it could be that they're still right, but you need to try it. Maybe times have changed. Maybe new things are there. Maybe it's not for you. So I'm really fond of experiencing education. That's why I love events and I love retreats and anything, even online, but an experience more than sometimes just reading something, because then you could really integrate it into your life. Otherwise, it's just knowledge that ends up in a journal. And it's cool if you're going to write a book about it, but not if you want to live it and practice it.
What has served you the most? What would you say have been your best personal, tactics or strategies in the last years? The past years, sorry.
Yeah. One is developing and constantly changing and prototyping, but developing a lifestyle and a habit system and a system of action that resonates. So, now it's even more extreme after holistic high performance, but my morning, when I worked a corporate job, they laughed because my morning is a 2 to 3 hour personal practice of meditation and stretching and Tai Chi, and taking, some of my supplements and, all of that stuff, and organizing my ideal day, how I want it to look, my calls, my time actually working, all of that planning of how I'm going to implement the things that I learned into my day and actually doing it, I think is one of the most useful tactics I had, because I saw it in my calendar. I saw it in the action list that I had. I saw it in my journal. And I saw it reflected in the quality of my relationships, because I had the time to do what I needed. I have my time for work. I have my time for my personal practice. I have my time for my partner, Susanna, who's a wonderful woman. And I always hear people talking about the work-life balance and how it can kill a relationship, or, and so to actually balance the three things in my life, which is my relationship with myself and my time to retire and do my personal things, my relationship with those people who I love, and my relationship with work, because there were times where I got thousands of tasks done and didn't have an hour to actually work, or I'd be on the phone all day. That could just kill you energetically. Even if it's necessary, I just noticed how much energy was drained on phone calls. So like you, I tracked all of this stuff. I tracked how I felt. I had a habit tracker, so I saw, am I exercising? Am I doing this? And most recently, I realized, actually with you, that I was checking things off of lists. My whole life was a list. And a lot of times I was missing the actual small actions that were needed for change. So constantly reorganizing that. I love to-do lists. I just got rid of Asana and my task management software and put everything in one simple note sheet. After talking to you now, getting off of WhatsApp and Signal and Telegram, moving everything to email, I keep realizing more and more how sweet this time is that we got with COVID, the great pause, I call it. And I've made money, I've lost money, but there's nothing more valuable than time. And I don't ever want to get into a rat race again with myself, with a corporate company. It doesn't matter. But having the time to do exactly what you want, that's freedom. People talk about making money and their success and their goals all attached to money. But what do you need the money for? Okay, you paid your bills, great. You paid your house, great. Whatever else, you have some fun, you go on a vacation. But after a while, one of the biggest things that it buys is also freedom. And you can have it without money too. So that's the funny thing. But the freedom and the time to live how you want. I know billionaires who are freaking miserable. They come to Costa Rica to drink ayahuasca. They're on the verge of a divorce. And I'm like, whoa, this is the guy who's made, 50 times more money than me. And he's the one who's in trouble, or she, And so I'm like, oh, okay, I do want to be successful. I do want to make money, but never at the cost of my freedom. So, yeah, I guess that's a long-winded answer, but...
No, it's brilliant answer. So this leads me to the question of what behavior or patterns have you recognized in the people you feel they are successful?
I think there's many, but I feel like there's one that sits on top, and it's radical responsibility. Responsibility for their life, responsibility for their choices, for their words, for their emotions, how they treat others, how they treat themselves. And these are not people who are in victim mode. These are people who take responsibility for their life, even the shitty parts, and they go through it. And a lot of the best teachers I've met don't really have to teach. You could be around them and they share with you their life experiences. That's the ultimate teaching. The things, not that they read in a book and can repeat beautifully in a British accent, but, the things that they actually learned. And even seeing healers and teachers who I think are on a pedestal, above me, realizing, shit, they're also human. They're also dealing with the same problems. And one of the biggest things that changed, thanks to a friend of mine, Mike Hill, was to stop putting people on pedestals. It doesn't mean that I don't admire Richard Branson, but I don't put him on a pedestal somehow higher than me or you or somebody else. Same problems, same difficulties, and everyone says, oh, but with a lot of money in the bank account. If you have it, you know that could even bring more problems, So I think having that radical responsibility for life, having a beginner's mind, is a huge thing, and humbleness. Every good teacher, practitioner, person I admire, they're humble as hell. They ask. I feel like they're learning from me when I meet them in real life. Like they say that, and I'm like, no, man, I'm learning from you here. And that humbleness is not a show. It's real. They're in real beginner's mind. And the one thing I want to add, I guess, at the end is in the space of wellness, fitness, health, coaching, all of it. You have a big division, and there's two schools. And it's the school where let me teach you something from me, and the other which empowers you that you are your own teacher. Kind of like we just said earlier, you are your own guru. And when I see a teacher who puts that power in the hands of the person they're talking to, that's amazing. Even, by the way, Jesus. Jesus was screaming to people. If you read any of the old literature, he was screaming, don't worship me as a god. I'm showing you that you have all these powers. His entire thing was to show people that they're exactly like him. They have the power to heal, the power to do this. And what do? One, we put him on a cross. That kind of sucks. Two, we end up worshiping him as a god instead of actually hearing his message. And I'm not saying that he's not a god. I'm just saying his message was, you're also God. We're all God. And that sounds a little hippie, but it's not. It's not, because he knew that anyone could do what he could do.
What are the people that you've learned the most from?
Who are they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow. My father.
And so who are they, and what have you learned specifically the most?
Yeah.
The most impactful thing, yeah.
Yeah, I think from my father, I learned how to think differently, how to be an entrepreneur, how to be different from the rest of the people, and how to take risk. He left the Soviet Union with nothing, took our family to America and started from scratch, and ended up kind of doing the same thing, going to Costa Rica. So he's really one of my greatest teachers. And yeah, I would say Mike Hill, who is a friend, a mentor, a legend in marketing, he taught me how to be. He taught me how to be. And how to be in love. You meet Mike and you've spoken to him, but you just feel love. You don't even have to know much about him or his background. You're like, whoa, I feel so good talking to you. And that's something that's really hard to learn or explain. It's something that you cultivate. And you cultivate inside and share outwardly. I've also learned a lot from you recently, so I want to mention that. Essentially you've summarized some of the best learnings, hacks across from productivity all the way to health. And, this specific week, I learned one of the biggest lessons of my life, which is the lesson of limbo. I was in a lot of freaking limbo. And that gap between, idea and action, I think somebody famous said that that's where freedom lies. That limbo and the ability to act, it's all about the action at the end of the day. And if you don't do it, well, you don't do it. So I think that was a huge lesson for me. And also the second one, and I know it's supposed to be one, but man, just I had a lot of freaking stress that I had to answer emails and WhatsApps, and I had task lists, and I felt, both for reasons of validation and reasons of fear of people judging me, that I had to answer every Instagram message, every WhatsApp message, and the ability to turn off my freaking phone for a week and not changed my life. And now, no WhatsApp, no Asana, everything filtered to email. So that's huge. That gave me the gift of time. And of course, I guess from all the great teachings, the Gita, the Upanishads, all those books, all those, I don't even want to call them books because they're manuscripts of life and methodologies, but they've all really shifted me. But when I look at programs like the DeRose method with Professor DeRose and my teacher Ricardo Soares, they take some of that learning and make it, again, really practical to apply. Even yoga, I didn't realize was more than a bunch of movements. There's a whole process of mantras and kriyas and relaxation techniques. And so I'm really grateful for DeRose. And, I don't want to quote the classics. I love Deepak Chopra. I love a lot of these writers. I really recently have loved Matthias De Stefano. If you're into the woo-woo stuff, he's really just summarized it for me in an incredible way. Not about like conspiracy crap, but more about how we can elevate ourselves to our highest place and evolve as individuals and as, I guess, a human race. So that's been really, really huge for me recently. And of course, I guess the last one for now is Ram Dass. I don't even know where to start with Ram Dass. But yeah, this year was the concept of I am loving awareness. It gives me goosebumps. It's incredible. It's incredible because, it kind of tracked us back all the way to the beginning of understanding what we really are, which is love and loving awareness. I didn't understand why the awareness until I felt it. I'm going to do a horrible job explaining it, so I won't. But if you can feel that and you could repeat that to yourself, at one moment it might click. And when it does, you're going to freak out because you realize what you really are. And also obviously this concept of becoming nobody, like his movie. I've always been concerned about being somebody. I wanted to make my parents happy. I wanted to graduate college, best grades, get a fancy job. And being okay being nobody is still so freaking hard for me. The other day my mom asked me, do you know this company Airbnb? And I laugh. I was like, yeah, Mom, I know Airbnb. She's like, why don't you start something like that? And I was like, okay, got it. And so I'm like, oh, wow, my whole life, it's been proving myself to everybody and to myself. And I don't really need to. I'm really happy with where I'm at and the things that I want. I'm happy with the things I have. And the things that I guess I don't have, they're there, and I want to achieve certain things, and I want to attain certain things, but I'm so freaking happy with what I have. Like, that's what I want. I want more time with my lovely wife-to-be. I want more time in nature with my friends. I think that kind of rounds it out.
It is, man. It is. Ed, so... You are really focused on journaling. These last 2 years, I've seen an explosion or like a exponential growth on you in your work as a expert on journaling. You've been doing even a workshop for Imparables Unstoppable in Times of Crisis, which is an online project I lead in Spanish for helping us with the skills for the quarantine. And you did an amazing and transformative workshop on journaling, on high performance journaling in Spanish. So what's journaling? Why? And what have you learned? And what tips can you give us? It's a lot of questions in one. Huh?
Sure. Yeah, for me, journaling is a way to integrate and navigate all of the wisdom we just spoke about, including the wisdom from everyday life, because I feel like you don't need to pick up a single book if you don't want to. Life will give you all of the learnings you need, all of the experiences, as long as you're present and aware. That's the tough part. So journaling for me was a place where I could reflect at first, and I'll add what it became, but at first it was a place where I could actually reflect upon my life experiences. Really simple. If I learned a lesson, take a pause before and after every activity, or take 10 breaths, how we did. I want to remember that lesson. Recently I was to learn that a lot of my journaling was actually so I didn't have to remember. So there are some downsides, some dark sides, some things that you got to watch out for. In the beginning, I was putting all my crazy ideas like in monkey mind in a journal, So journaling for me is a way to reflect on the lessons in your life, the accomplishments in your life, ideas that come up. I hated having to have like a note in my phone about all the crazy ideas. Maybe I don't ever execute them, but in the journal I put them, and I can idea map, and I could map all my lessons and map my accomplishments and see them and track them. And finally, synchronicities. Wow, saw Isra 3 times this month. What's going on? Like, should we do something together, collaborate on something? I don't know, but at least I could monitor it. And then I added all of the best hacks and things that I found, my personal mantras in the back of the journal, exercises like my values. I do those every year. I redo them to make sure that my values are the same. And everything else has to be aligned with that. My mission and vision, like a business, you do the personal branding. When I did my brand for my life, I was like, what's my mission? What's my vision? Because when you look at my website, you see freaking real estate, hospitality, journaling. But my mission is to help people live at their best. And those are all tools of how I do it. So using the journal to clarify those things, mission, vision, and then I see it as a tool belt. So, for example, Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, we just did this weekend automatic writing, the thought dumping. I've known this for, years, and I haven't practiced it in a while. And so I added it to my tool belt. So I never teach a strict methodology of journaling. When we do workshops, I usually love hearing also what people do. They teach me things all the time. So I see it as a tool belt and a place for you to reflect and use whatever tools help you. I recently bought the Clear Journal from James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. I love it because it has a habit tracker in the back. I don't think we have to go nuts being so oppressive about our habits. So it's not like I just track bad habits and good habits. Also put different things that I want to achieve during the day in there. I think a journal is a place to do that. Also things like spiritual autolysis, eliminating beliefs that don't serve you anymore. Liberation letters, letting go of things that are not needed. I would put my daily mindfulness, something I wanted to be mindful of every day. I put my gratitude list in there. And I also split it up in morning and evening. So in the morning, I do an exercise like you, and in an evening to reflect on the day and clear my mind before bed. That's for me journaling. And, recently I called it integrative journaling because it's integrating life. A lot of people talk about integrating psychedelics, which I also have recently ended up using the journal for, because I think it's a very powerful tool. But what about integrating regular waking life? All these lessons, they could just flash by you. So the journal was my place to sit down and see what's going on here, to really look at it. Yeah.
What are your best techniques or in journaling? Yes.
Yeah, so one is I love doing some form of free writing in the morning, whether it's a longer automatic writing where you write without lifting the pen from the paper for 5 minutes or more. I used to do a much simpler version where I just wrote a couple lines of what was on my mind waking up. I wrote my goals for the day. I wrote the actions I needed for those goals. I wrote something I wanted to be aware of or mindful of for each day. So those are some of the items, and then also tracking things. So I called it the SAIL method a while ago because I would track. The S was for synchronicities, all the magic that happens. Wow, saw 3 hummingbirds this week. Cool, I'm going to go on Google and see what the significance of a hummingbird is. Oh, wow, change, So, things like that might seem a little weird. I literally tracked everything that was repeated in my life because those are the messages from the universe. Literally, you have a conversation, an external dialogue with the world out there, and if you watch the patterns, it gives you everything you need. So I map synchronicities, including people. If you're somebody who's like a connector, I can put the 30 people who have been in my life this month on a piece of paper at the end of the month and see if there's a pattern. Holy crap, all of these are teachers and healers, and I'm in a time of producing an event. Or, wow, everybody around me is in the hospitality or real estate space, and I'm starting something new there. So, mapping synchronicities, then accomplishments we spoke about, but it's really awesome to see what you're achieving. Probably a lot of the people listening to this are very productive, high achievers, and yeah, we're pretty hard on ourselves. So I love to map achievements and track progress in that way. I love to map ideas. I have crazy ideas all freaking day. If I had a notepad in the shower, it would be very full. So I like to see where all my ideas are landing. It's not that I need to execute all of them, but I'm like, oh wow, all my ideas this month are around, better living and living sustainably. Cool. And finally, lessons. Just tracking lessons and implementing them is a really useful tool for me.
And if anyone is going to start with journaling, what the steps are what are the most essential steps to start journaling and integrate and then getting something from it?
Yeah, I think one, buy a journal and a good pen. I actually go through a lot of journals. My favorite lately has been the Clear Journal that I mentioned. It's set up really well and it has a lot of techniques in there, which I think is super cool. Some that I even forgot about or don't use and now am using, like the Eisenhower box. Freaking love that. It's a 4-corner box, and in the left is most important, most urgent. On the right is important, not urgent. And then below is urgent, not important, not. So it was, I used it for a week. It wasn't for me, but the cool thing is you experiment with it. So I would say buy a journal that you like. I liked Moleskines and still do for years. The nicest journal I've ever seen recently has been the Magic of I journal, which is incredible. Magic of I. And also, I'm not so big on digital, but seeing the Remarkable, which is like a digital journal that it's beyond anything I've ever seen.
I'll share this in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So yeah, buy a journal and then literally try everything. I try different journaling techniques almost weekly. All this you can download. Israel put a link, but you could download the journal templates that I've made, and literally I ask you to steal, use, copy, paste, whatever you want. It's meant for you. It's on my website for free also. And yeah, find the tools that work for you, put them in your journal and start doing them. Also, if you don't like any of those things, just write in there. Write whatever the hell you want. Maybe you're an artist and it's a creative journal for your writing. I think I have 4 different journals, including my latest one for magic tricks. But yeah, I have my personal journal. I have a journal that I do just creative writing and poetry in, which is very new for me. I just want to expand my potential and kind of my art, because it's never been in my life, and now it's appearing. Music, art, all of that. I started to draw in my journal, so really experiment with it. Yeah.
So you were saying that you have 5 journals. One is
oh yeah, so one is my actual journal, my daily journal. Then I keep a big journal, like a very cheap soft book journal, just for meetings, to map out ideas. I don't worry about the pages, how I use them. My personal journal I keep clean. I have my creative journal, which I just do some creative writing in. And then I bought a few small moleskins for fun stuff like field notes. So I made one my journal for magic tricks because I decided to study magic again. So it's my little magic book. And what's cool is I don't open them every day. My daily journal I use daily, but the other ones, like the one I use for poetry, I might open it once a month. So it's really cool because it starts to get filled over the years. And yeah, I think that's it. Now I'm actually going to do a radical experiment of stopping journaling for a little bit just to see how that works. And also a simple thing is changing your entire journaling style. I did your wisdom journal?
Yes.
Yeah, so I did your wisdom journal. I stopped doing every single of my journaling techniques. One, because you said give it a try. Give a try to stop everything and change. And it was really cool. I realized I was in a habit of doing a certain thing or my certain style of journaling over and over. And then that's it.
Sometimes we become slaves of our own habits, of our own life. It's just because we get so addicted to what we do, because we think that what we do is right, and it takes us to next level. But once you are in the next level, in order to get to the next level of the next level, you have to get rid of what you think you know, and start all over from scratch, experimenting, prototyping. Yeah, that's Weibel mentality.
You're a great example of that. Like, you constantly experiment and prototype and literally can change a complete routine, habit, pattern. So that's really rad. I think that's so important.
Ed, we've been through, we met in 2014, in fact 2013 in Ibiza. You offered us to go to Burning Man. We went to Burning Man. We went running, cycling, and swimming. 573 kilometers, 469 bicycle, 6 swimming, 100. We raised funds for a charity. Awesome. We just worked together in ECHO. I got the privilege and honor to be invited by you to participate out here. Endless calls, lot of resonance. Then we lost our connection for 1 year. Then during COVID, we get in touch again. We decided to move forward together with the Holistic High Performance Project. Edward is going to be my partner on the online and also on the retreats, the programs. There were consultants, trainings, and then I decided to come to Costa Rica a few days ago to give a gift to Edward for our friendship, for his loyalty, for his commitment, responsibility, love, care. He's been really supportive. He's one of my best friends, a big bros. Thanks. And so that gift was a 4-day holistic high performance program. We started on Tuesday to Friday, where we ended up on Saturday. So it was more than 4 days. So what can you say about the experience?
It changed my life, man. One, I was expecting, because you run all of these Ironmans and Ultramans and challenges, I was expecting it to be a very strong physical program, which it was. What I didn't, and probably one of the strongest that I've done physically, what I didn't expect was, well, how holistic it was. That's what gets me excited about it. Look, at the end of the day, I love seeing people grow and transform. It's the reason I built a retreat center. It's the reason why I like producing retreats and events and attending them. And when I went to the Holistic High Performance, when I went through the experience, for me, it was one of the most the most well-rounded program of personal growth and transformation that I've ever done, because it touched on all of these things. I've done sprinkles of them, but this brought it all together. I mean, we woke up, we meditated, we did stillness, we did Tai Chi, we did Kung Fu, we did Qigong. during other parts of the day, we worked on ultra productivity and my business, we worked on, the physical stuff, as I mentioned, running, training, the spiritual, and all the elements, all the four elements, the mind, so looking at all of this, even nutrition, changing, how often we ate, how much we ate, certain days fasting, it was incredible, but also it was really well tailored. It wasn't just a generalistic program. It was one, you designed it for me. And I know how you work with people. You design things exactly kind of as they need or with a group for a certain goal. But it was freaking incredible. Again, the action to limbo, cut it, like literally you were like, okay, this doesn't work. WhatsApp, email, we're cutting them. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And you push. And that's what I love about the program and about you is, man, people are so soft on me. And you saw, I could probably get a PhD in excuses and maybe a master's in laziness. And I need a push. I need a freaking push. And this was better. This was a kick in the butt, So I like it. It wasn't too aggressive, but you really got me out of my comfort zone. In fact, challenged me to run as fast as I can from comfort and towards my fear, because that's where growth lies. Feeling is healing. And when you feel the things that you're afraid of and you go towards them, you can shift them and you could heal them instead of creating defense mechanisms and dancing your life around them. So for me, the outtakes of the program, one, on myself, and two, you did a public workshop and seeing everybody in tears and moved, and people coming up to you after like, bro, thank you. That changed my life. That's beautiful. I didn't need the validation, but to see that I wasn't crazy, this is my best friend Israel. I love everything he does. No, like everyone I introduce you to is like, this guy's a ninja, he's a Jedi. So yeah, this program, what I loved was that it took all of your best hacks and Jedi skills and literally, thousands and thousands of hours of your work studying the best achieving people around the world and putting it into one program. That saves a whole lot of time. And yeah, I agree. I could find maybe a Kung Fu teacher who's better than you or a yoga teacher who's better than you. It's not the point. You need to put them all together, and you can't have 80 teachers in one day. And you don't need the best. Just doing 10 minutes of Kung Fu in a good way, was phenomenal. And that's also what I liked about you and about the program is I always got intimidated that I had to be an expert in all these things. And I'm like, dude, yeah, you're an expert in Ironmans and running and branding, and you're not an expert in Kung Fu, but you're damn good at it. And you're not an expert in Tai Chi, but you're damn good at it. And so the ability to do those things, yeah, without needing some kind of high-level expertise, but do the best and combine all of these things and see how you feel and then cut the stuff that doesn't work for you. It was almost like a menu or a toolbox of like the best of personal development. And I'm going to keep most of it, I might go lighter on the running.
We'll talk about this tomorrow morning. I only can say that it's been a pleasure to work with you and to continue working with you and learning from you, because when you have someone you are sharing something like this that can be your teacher, not your like a student or participant or attendee, and take it with your humbleness, with your grace, with your beginner's mind, with this easiness and determination, and also acceptance and say, okay, that's the work, let's do it. It makes easier. It makes it easier. It makes it like working like 100 times better, faster, and efficiently. So it's not just the one who is leading, is the one who is ready to learn anything. So you showed us, you gave me like a big lesson of how to learn and how to, be willing to learn. So outstanding, man.
Right on.
Ed, just what's you mentioned psychedelics.
Yeah.
You mentioned the work you do with your lady, and the integration in journal. What's the
What's the gist of it all?
what's the intersection of what you do with psychedelics with your life, and what are the findings or their discovery you've made, and what have you seen in other people?
Yeah, firstly, I'm really happy to be able to talk about psychedelics publicly. It used to be something I had to hide or be ashamed of, but now, one, seeing that they're becoming legal almost all over the world, but, state by state in the US, it's starting. People are healing from PTSD with psilocybin, MDMA therapies, ayahuasca, all of it. So it was a part of my personal growth path at first. When I got to Costa Rica, I tried ayahuasca, which is the big one, DMT, the spirit molecule. I felt unity consciousness. I threw up a lot. I got rid of a lot of things that were blocks. But again, I also saw it not as an end. I feel like for me, psychedelics was a great way to explore consciousness. It was a great way to feel a lot of things I was reading, like oneness and etc. But it wasn't an end. I quickly saw people taking ayahuasca every month, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying that, but I see a category of people who are just coming for psychedelic tourism and nonstop going for questions, and the thing is, you got to integrate what it gives you, any psychedelic experience. And by the way, if you actually look up the definition of psychedelics, has nothing to do with substances necessarily. A state of mind and state of consciousness that I think is achieved there is what's interesting. But yeah, there's also a ton of abuse around it. Nobody integrates. Now it's starting to become popular, integration. But man, back in the day, I would go to a ceremony. It's over. Here's your tea. Have a great day. And man, the next week, my whole life was shattered. So a lot of times I went to these psychedelic experiences and I came out more confused, more lost. My emotions were all over the place. Even now as someone who supports the psychedelic movement, wow, it could freaking rock your emotions, So I needed to integrate, and that's where the journaling came in. Again, it crosses every aspect of my life. It crosses the journaling. It crosses the retreats and experiences because we started organizing and attending. But recently the project with Integrative Journaling was to use some of the same methodologies I found for regular journaling, and also studying the best integration journals out there from Third Wave, from Paul Austin and other people. Joyce Braverman, one of my best friends and PhD in Mexico. In the psychedelic space, is freaking hero. All these people taught me phenomenal integration techniques. Some that you can find online, some that they thought of intuitively. But again, you have to look at some of these things. What setting are you doing it in? What are you letting go of? What do you want to call in? Any kind of traumas that were released. Man, some people have really serious traumas, and that stuff is triggered, released, opened up during psychedelics. You can't leave a psychedelic experience without closing and integrating. One of my best friends, Ian Michael, who is a company called Holos Global that leads incredible experiences, he's a master of the container, of opening and closing. And really, a lot of that is what I do in my journaling technique. You could do it out loud or in a journal, but you want to go over what happened. You want to look at it. And so I think it's really difficult to go to a psychedelic experience and not process it in any way. The lessons. And when I go to a psychedelic experience, everyone has a journal. And I wonder what they're writing. Wow, I saw this and that, and my whole life flashed before my eyes. But yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff we have to ask. So lately we've been doing a project really from passion. It's not for money. We put it online for free. It's our integrative journal with Susanna, my partner, who's amazing. And I study integration and psychedelic studies through a course with the university in Mexico with Susanna. She also studies for years different shamanic paths and things. And also classical psychology and philosophy. I was a philosophy major. So combining all of this, like real psychology, shamanism, journaling, man, there's so many tools out there to make it just from a recreational psychedelic experience or a ceremony into something that can change your life. And then you don't have to freaking go back every week or every month. It's not something, Sue says, it's medicine. So if you're not sick, don't take it. If you have a problem or something you want to figure out, or you have some block with your father that you need to uncover, take it. But I remember once I went back for an ayahuasca and I didn't feel anything. And I went 3 months later and I didn't feel anything. And I asked an older friend of mine who's really wise, Marcelo Mansour, my Tai Chi teacher and vibrational healer. And he said, yeah, man, let it be. And he said, you have to do some of the things that you asked the questions about and got answers to. You can't just keep asking questions. You're not going to keep getting answers unless you act on the ones that were first. And I realized I wasn't really doing what the medicine told me. 5 years later, I quit my job and made all those changes, but that was 5 years later. It didn't need to be necessarily, if I had integrated it properly. It was what it was, but it just was a major lesson for me that you're getting all these huge messages. Do even one session in your life of any psychedelic, man, you could have lessons for the rest of your life. And it was funny because it was a tough conversation with my mom because she saw something on Instagram about psychedelics, and I let her watch, I gave her Fantastic Fungi, and she started to see that, holy crap, like all of these brilliant people from Ram Dass, Harvard professors, people who you don't think are tie-dye t-shirt wearing hippies, they're like real people, like adults with serious jobs. I meet CEOs, I meet I can't say there's a person I've met, like a category, a teacher, or this or that, who hasn't done psychedelics. You know what I mean? Not that all those people, but meaning that I'm surprised with that it's not just this like Burning Man millennial thing. Like I know we had my friend's mom at a small gathering we held who'd never tried anything. Not weed, not nothing, and she had a blast. And it wasn't that fun. And she had a blast, like she had an experience. But yeah, I think it's important, and I think it needs to be done responsibly. Obviously not by kids and not, under alcohol and this and that. But yeah.
What are the most important steps for integration from your experience?
Yeah, so one is to divide it into pre and post. I think before entering any kind of psychedelic experience, by the way, you could do this for going to a festival too. You could do it for a lot of things. Ahead of time, I like to ask myself, why am I doing this? What am I going to get out of this? Then questions like, is there anything I want to let go? Is there anything I want to examine in my life? Is there anything I want to bring forth? It could be anything. Abundance, money, a new pair of shoes, doesn't matter. Also be humble. I feel like everyone always asks for these things that they want, but it could be anything. It's your psychedelic experience, your life. And then, after looking at things like, how was my experience? How do I feel? Monitoring, do I feel tired? I also do a little bit of a health metrics. Did I drink water? Because just some of those simple things can actually be the reason for a bad experience, a good experience. Did any traumas come up? Which triggers? In the guide, you'll see a lot of other things. Like, again, we track the synchronicities. We called it the magic tracker. The one thing that's interesting that I would say is that I think the process of integration, in most cases, could take 1 to 3 months. That's why I also don't recommend overdoing any psychedelic, because it takes a while. If you take something like Bufo alvirus, 5-MeO-DMT, you'll see that you very rarely, from friends that I've talked to and myself, have gotten the messages that day. But man, I was walking to work 3 weeks later in New York City and I just started crying, literally just pouring tears because something huge became revealed to me, from that experience 3 weeks later. And if I was unaware and I was just partying and smoking weed and hanging out and smoking cigarettes, I probably would have missed that moment. But I was actively observing every single day what appeared.
Wow.
So there are more specific techniques, but the classics, set your mindset, the setting that you're in, the group of friends, the people around you, all of that matters. Yeah.
Ed, you are now pioneering a new way of live here, at least first in Costa Rica and then maybe in another places around the world, with a project that is called Nucleo.
Yeah.
So can you tell us why, what, and what you have learned?
Yeah. So after, I guess in my life, I've done a lot of experience producing in events, and then wanted to create a place for those. So I built Vida, our retreat center. And also Vida had a community component. Really was passionate about eco-village and creating ways that we can live this way, not just retreat and travel for a week, to have organic food, to have community, to have education, comfortable place to sleep. And so, yeah, and also obviously you could see where the journaling comes in too, because I'm crazy about personal development. And looking at how to synthesize all those together, when I left my last corporate job with an amazing company called Selena, I learned a lot, and I learned that I really wanted to bridge people to a better way of living. I've always been a bridge or a connector, and I don't want people just to like a photo of me in Costa Rica and say, wow, I wish I could live that life. No, then I would just be another asshole, I've really wanted to bring people here, and I've brought them on retreats, and I've done that. But now there's a huge shift happening. We're entering a new paradigm. For all those who don't know, the old one is freaking falling apart. Some people are holding on to it for dear life, but let go. It's a lot easier to rebuild something better. Our economic systems, our education systems, agriculture. So I'm really privileged. I mean, beyond privileged to be living in a country like Costa Rica. And in my last job, I traveled to Mexico, Portugal, all over. And I realized there's all these thriving, regenerative neighborhoods, places with clean food, clean water, community, organic gardens, like really good living, let's put it that way. And so Nucleo was a way for us to bridge people to that life by an experience. So we decided I really wanted to build tiny houses and get people out of cities and into nature. It doesn't matter where, US, Costa Rica. And that project turned into essentially building a cluster of these homes with a swimming pool and a yoga deck and a co-working kitchen area, so that people could come stay for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and experience different parts. Like you were just now in Santa Teresa, Costa Rica, but my friends have to travel and see what Nosara is like, what Santa Teresa is like, before you can make a decision to dive into community. And I've seen so many people do that, and then they're like, oh my God, this is not for me. Too many mosquitoes, too many hippies. You got to see where you want to be around and what kind of people. And so that's Nucleo for us. It's basically a place where people can stay long-term or mid-term. They can stay short-term, but that's not our goal. Airbnb does a great job with that. But it's really hard to find the type of place in these neighborhoods where you can go with your wife and kid, spend 2 months and have organic food and have high-speed internet and live in a super sustainable eco home, and taste what an eco village is like. It's really freaking hard to do. So we wanted to bridge people to that, and others who are ready to kind of dive in and build something like that for themselves. We've had a bunch of people ask us to do that, where essentially they said, look, we want to build a house in Costa Rica, but we're not moving there. We want to go, we want to rent it out when we're not there, and we want it to produce us income. And when I learned a little bit about real estate and wealth building, I was like, wow, if I have a home that I could use and enjoy, which I call vacation, when I travel, but it makes me money, that's completely different from what I'm used to in terms of travel. I usually spend money and see a minus on my credit card bill. But I was with one of my friends, Ari Goldberg, and I went to a ski house with him in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I was like, Ari, thank you so much for hosting me. This was amazing. This must have cost a lot. And he was like, no, man, this is one of my investment properties. We use it for free when it's not rented. And other times it makes us money. And I was like, that's freaking incredible. And a lot of people on our website have been asking us for that. Like, we want an income-producing asset, and we want to go and enjoy Costa Rica or Mexico. So we want to give them a bridge to that. And then,
wow.
Yeah, for those ready to take the leap, the next step.
And how can we take the next step?
Yeah, so we're just almost ready to launch our website, nucleo.com, and maybe you can share a link. If you go to it now, you'll see our temporary webpage, which gives you some of the ideas of what we're building and where, and some of the philosophy behind it. And also on my Instagram and on my blog on Zaydel.com, you can see a lot of the updates and also interviews that I do with people in this space. There's so many pioneers and communities and new retreat centers, and we want to be near, in, and around all of them. So, yeah. So you could see it on our website, on nucleo.com, or on my Instagram.
And Ed, last but not least, what's your message? So now you've second podcast, you share how to live better. Here you share with us how to integrate life in different aspects from your wisdom and your experience. So what's next?
Yeah, sometimes I've had a lot of personal desires to share a certain message, like be love or just be. Right now, I think we have a huge responsibility. The world is changing very rapidly, and we need to co-create the new paradigm. Nobody's going to do it for us. So if I had any message at all, it's let's go build a fucking better world. Let's do it wherever you want to do it. United States, Costa Rica. Let's start living better. Let's live within our means. Let's live sustainably. Let's live in a way where we have economic abundance that's relatively attainable for all and a good quality of life. Let's stop polluting. All of these things are a simple life shift. And also, let's stop all these freaking wars. And that can happen simply by stopping the war within. So one, same way I look at myself every day, look at what choices you could make day to day to stop contributing to what's happening, where your dollars are spent, what companies you support with your shopping. So you could say, oh, I don't support the cutting of the Amazon. Well, you did when you bought that hamburger because the trees are cut mostly for cattle. So just start being more aware, please, of every choice you make. You don't have to become a vegan tomorrow, although I do support vegans. Love what you're doing, guys. But start taking steps in your life. Stop teaching and preaching, but take little steps, garden, do whatever. And also do the things like you share a lot, meditate, stillness. All of the things in your external world are a reflection of your internal world. So if something's shitty outside or you think a country's getting bombed, look at what's going on inside of yourself, because I guarantee you there's a war happening too. So my only ask is that we grow as a species and we evolve into what we can be. Yeah.
Amen. Aho.
Ed,
anything else you want to add?
Just grateful for this opportunity to share and to be your friend for so many years and learn next to you and learn with you, and make mistakes and fail. Grateful for your beginner's mind. You just keep surprising me with that and sharing that, and just, not the things you teach, sharing through your being. That's what I meant by the being and doing earlier. Just being around you. I'm really grateful for how much I've learned in the way you act and the way you show up.
Likewise.
So I think.
Where people can find you, apart from Instagram and
well,
website?
now a lot fewer places because Isra made me cut all of the things that don't work. But
Instagram and website.
Yeah, website. Zaydel.com is my personal website. You could see all of my projects, from the journaling to the real estate, to the hospitality stuff, and for everything regarding the new paradigm and the new way of life, you could see nucleo.com, NOOKLEO, or livethepossibility.com, and it'll give you an idea of what I'm up to. But it's all on my Instagram and website, so go to one, you could click and see. And feel free to reach out to me. It might take me a moment to answer, again, with my new ultra productivity ways, but I'm here, I'm human, I answer emails. So if you're curious about this way of life, about journaling, about personal growth, reach out.
This is what's to be a human. This is what's to be a great human being, as Edward Zyadelman has shared with us. I have the pleasure to keep learning from him for all these years. It's been now almost 8 years. Well, 8 years, and it will keep going, hopefully. And now, more closely, as we're gonna become as we already are partners. That's what means to be alive today. That was to be conscious and to make an impact and to thrive. People like Edward show us the way, show us that we can live better, be better, integrate better, and help better, support better, and build better. We can be and do better than what we do. Always in a humble way, with no pretension, no ego, and always from what we learn from everybody, because we are our teachers, and everybody is our teacher, and everything is our teacher. Above all, our limiting beliefs, our fears, our challenges, our adversities. So let's see everything as a teacher, as a master, as a healer, and become what you are. Just you. Just whatever the hell you are is you, and this is fantastic. This is what I get from this interview of a person that shares love, is optimistic at the heart, and has something inside that changes a lot outside. So this is the path. You are the path.
Don't forget to have fun along the path too.
Thank you for being in Disrupt Everything podcast series. Remember that if you don't disrupt yourself, something or someone will disrupt you, and this will be more painful because we'll get beyond your comfort zone, or not your comfort zone, what you can control or not. And what you can control is the choice to disrupt yourself, and then disrupt in a positive way the world that's around you. Edward, you close the podcast.
I'll close with one of my favorite quotes from Joseph Campbell. The human being is not so much looking for the meaning of life as much as they're looking for an experience of being alive. You create your reality. There's only one of these rides. So enjoy it. Live it to the fullest. Don't worry. Relax. Freaking relax. And I love you guys. I really love you all. Thank you.
Esto ha sido Disrupt Everything by Isla García. Encuentra el riesgo antes de que el riesgo te encuentre a ti.